is this piece of shit?
What's happening, guys? Supernova here. And forgive me if this turns into a rant, but Crackdown 3 previews are out, and they aren't good, and it's just a little bit upsetting. And not just because the game isn't what we were promised. No, that's only part of it. But let's start with that. Just as a reminder, let me show you what they promised us all the way back in 2015.
Yeah, so when we had the opportunity to create Crackdown 3 as a multiplayer experience for the first time, we thought very carefully about, what do we want to do if we bring lots of these agents together into a space? And Crackdown was always a very, very physical game. It was always about props, vehicles, using everything in the world as potentially a weapon or a shield. So we said, okay, the only thing that's not physical in Crackdown in the original games was the actual city in which you play. So we said, what if we make the whole environment in our multiplayer game completely physical? So that's what we started and said, well, if it's completely physical, it's actually going to be completely destructible as well. We thought that would be great. So we started developing a lot of technology that would allow us to do that. And we started with something as simple as a wall here, for example, which if you fired a bullet in a video game, it's not physical. So this wall is physical. So every single bullet actually takes away a little bit of the geometry. And from a gameplay perspective, that's really cool. For example, you could be at the top of any building and you want to create a little sniper's nest. And you want to keep it as small as possible, so what you would do is you would just carve out a little hole here, and you could use that basically as a sniper's nest. And that's really neat. That's really hard to do because it requires a lot of compute power and memory to achieve that level of fine destruction. But you also have to think about where you go from there. So if you start to give players that kind of power, what it means is they could do things like carve an actual shape, and if they did that, and I remove every part around the shape that I'm making there, then physically that bit in the middle you would absolutely expect to not be suspended in midair, but to fall out and be a physical shape by itself, like that. And that's what Crackdown is, so that would persist, I could pick that up and use that. So that's kind of cool, you don't see that much in video games because of the problem of performance and memory. But what it also means is, and I'm going to switch to a slightly overpowered assault rifle here, it also means we can't wall players in anymore. So I'm just going to blast a part of this wall now, blast a bit more of it. And it means I could just create doorways and step through. So that's pretty cool, but like I said, it made us really think about, well, we have to think about how we actually build, game worlds now. Is that if I was to carve out this area I'm looking at, the whole base of this tower here, that whole tower then would have to fall down. And to do that requires, once again, a lot of memory, a lot of processing power to do that. But that's the kind of system we said, okay, if we're going to be truly physical, we have to make all that happen. So even how we build a building like this in gaming would have to change, because typically they're just pictures, they're just geometry, there's actually nothing behind these. They're not designed to fall down. Whereas this building, because it has to fall down, it has to be structurally supported. So this building actually has a steel superstructure behind all the glass and all the concrete and all the metal. So what we'll do is, just to show that, we'll expose that. Now once again, I'm going to use a very overpowered set of bullets here to do a lot of damage for the sake of time. But what I'm doing here is I'm going to start peeling off all the exterior of the building, all the steel, all the glass, there's glass up there, all the concrete. And everything that comes off, by the way, in true Crackdown style, is completely physical. So, there's nothing faked here. So as we start to peel this away, you'll start to see the steel superstructure underneath that's holding that building up. And basically we'll keep doing a lot of damage, and we'll actually show you that by destroying the whole of that whole building will fall down. And speaking of that, from a gameplay perspective, we think that's a lot of fun. So for example, my three friends are up there on that bridge. I can't get line of sight to them, but with my overpowered assault rifle here, what I can do here is just physically destroy that bridge and see them come crashing down with the bridge as well. And every part of that comes down is physical, and if it hits stuff on the ground, we'll smash the stuff on the ground as well. We get lovely cascade damage as well, so those kind of big parts there, if I shear those off and that hits that one, hits that one, hits that one, and it all comes crashing down. And we're starting to see we're revealing a bit of the steel superstructure in the building there as well. So that's all great, and it's kind of cool tech, but we just wanted to kind of show you about the kind of work we're doing behind the scenes to make that happen. On the very top left, underneath my health bar, we've brought up some bars. You'll see a green Xbox icon, or the one beside it. That bar is full. What that shows is a full bar is how much of the local compute power we can use on our Xbox One to do physics. And even in this scenario, we max that out pretty quickly. And that's typically, what you might get in a typical kind of local campaign game on your Xbox. But as soon as we needed to handle this level of destruction and use more, the bars underneath it, like the cloud icon with the two beside it, we're now going out for the extra compute power for doing all this destruction. We're going out to the cloud and starting to use cloud compute to give us that kind of extra that extra compute we need for this. So as we do more and more destruction, you'll see the bar going up on the 2, and we've already been out there, and you can see earlier on we grabbed a 3. Now, eventually, as we do enough damage to the base of this building here, that whole structure will physically come down. So there it goes. Once you've done enough destruction, we've destroyed the superstructure, the whole thing comes crashing down. It's all physical, it's all real time. We can carry on destroying it while it's falling down. And there we've tipped over into using again our third cloud server just to handle that huge spike in physics. So again, from a gameplay perspective, especially for Crackdown, which is a very physical game, we could do some really fun stuff here. So this huge part of the tower on the left here, for example, we could have one of our crime lords at the very top of this building. In a true Crackdown style, I could use agility and start to climb up the outside of the building. Or knowing that there's an interior in every single floor, I could start to go up the way sneakily through the building just by blasting holes above me in each floor. Or we could say, let's have a lot of fun and let's kill the guy at the top of that tower by just taking the whole tower down with him in it. So with our overpowered weapons, we're just going to start to do a ton of damage now. And once again, you can see the compute bars going up and up, but dynamically we're just bringing more and more compute power to our game from the cloud. I'm going to switch to my rocket launcher, and we're all just going to wail on the very base of this building and bring the whole building down. And when that building comes down, we'll really be spiking the physics. You can see the superstructure exposed there. We've really done a lot of damage here, so I'm going to get ready to detach my camera as the building starts to go down, and there it goes. And even when that comes down, it's so much mass, it will smash into the building next to it, take that one down, smash into the building again, and start to damage the ones behind it. And once that's down, it's still fully physical, so you get very cool moments like, there's one of the players there, now starting to use that as a kind of like a little ramp. So imagine a Crackdown if you can make your own bridges by just felling skyscrapers.
Now, remember some of the things they showed us. Individual bullets making bullet-sized holes in materials. Buildings having steel structures covered in glass, metal, and concrete. You could topple buildings over into other buildings. And think about how detailed those buildings were, and the explosive effects as they were destroying those buildings. The particle effects and smoke and dust created as debris fell to the ground. This demo from 2015 was without a doubt very impressive. Now, Crackdown 3 was delayed several times. And you want to know why Microsoft says it was delayed? Just look at this conversation between Polygon and Matt Booty from Microsoft. It feels as though some games for Xbox have been released maybe a little early or maybe a little rougher than normal, to which Matt Booty replies, yeah. Polygon then asks, and this delay seems from the outside like maybe a change. Maybe more investment is going into things. Things are getting more time, even if it hurts. Matt Booty pretty much says, yes. He says, we want to grow, we want to expand, but part of it is we want to make games that people are proud to make. We have to make games that people love to play. Some games just need more time, and we want to get it right. Second part is, we really want to make games that have the opportunity to become a franchise that can sit next to Halo, sit next to Gears. This is coming directly from Microsoft. They didn't want to release Crackdown 3 looking quote-unquote early or unfinished, like State of Decay 2 and Sea of Thieves. No, they wanted to get it right, because they feel that Crackdown could be a franchise that can sit next to Halo and Gears of War. Now let's look what Microsoft is giving us. This is Crackdown 3 now. And let's just forget that destruction is only in multiplayer. I'm willing to give them a pass on that. But look at those buildings. Look at all of the detail, or lack thereof. There is no detail. There's no glass. There's no metal. Just flat plains. Every building just looks like it's made of pieces of cardboard. Also, particle effects are way dialed down. Now remember the bullet-sized holes? Gone. Now when you shoot a wall, a giant chunk falls off, some almost the size of your character. And if you look closely, you can see that each surface is not a solid structure you're taking pieces out of. No, it's literally a wall built out of giant puzzle pieces, and depending on where you shoot, those are the pieces that fall. Now, I know some of you are probably saying, but Supernova, it takes a lot of processing power to render all that destruction. Okay, I'll give you that. But do you know how much more power Microsoft reps say the cloud adds to the console? You don't get 4 times the power of an Xbox One, not 8 times the power, not even 10 times the power. No, the cloud gives you 20 times the power of an Xbox One. That's what they're telling us. Now, be honest. Does this look like a game using 20 times the power of an Xbox One? Of course not. It doesn't even look like a game using 1 time the power of an Xbox One. Then there's this. This is from Battlefield Bad Company. This game had destructible environments in multiplayer and single player. Also, if you ask me, the destruction here looks better than in Crackdown 3, and this is a game that released on the Xbox 360. The Xbox One is said to be roughly about 10 times as powerful as a 360. So if you do the math, that means that a quote-unquote AAA Microsoft exclusive in 2019 with 40 times the power of a 360 looks inferior. The massive downgrade of the promised destruction isn't the only reason to be upset either. Look at the animations. They're terrible. Like when he picks up and throws this chair. And he doesn't even look like he's running. He looks like he's skating on the ground. This doesn't look like a polished, big-budget AAA game. There are so many people saying this game looks like a AA game or even a last-gen game. Some have even said that it looks like an awesome Android or iOS game. Now that last bit may be a little harsh, but the other things are hard to disagree with. One of the biggest things upsetting me about this situation is the apologist making excuses for the poor quality or unmet promises. They are in comment sections all over YouTube saying things like, well, it's a Crackdown game. What did you expect it to look like? Or, I don't understand why people are mad that it looks like a Crackdown game. And, well, it's the art style. What did you expect? I'm sorry, but if you're going to tell me that the art style, and because it's a Crackdown game, means it's supposed to look like this, then I'm going to call BS. And here's some examples of exactly why that is BS. Here is Uncharted 2 Among Thieves for the PS3. Look at things like the smoke and particle effects from the grenades, all the lighting effects, all of the animations. And now here is Uncharted 4 Thief's End for the PS4. Same art style, but everything is better. The smoke and particle effects from the grenade, lighting effects and animations. Everything is better because it's a next-gen game running on next-gen hardware. Okay, so some of you are saying, well, Uncharted's art style is more on the realistic end. It's not as stylized as Crackdown, so it's easier for it to look better. Okay, well here's an example of a highly stylized game that should hit closer to home. Here is Halo 3 for the 360. Again, look at things like lighting and particle effects, character and enemy animations, surface textures. And now, here is Halo 5 Guardians for the 360, running on an Xbox One X with X enhancements. Once again, everything is better. And this time, it's not a next-gen game. It's a same-gen game, running on next-gen hardware with software enhancements. And not only does it look much better than the other 360 game, it looks much better than this brand new AAA exclusive. I could do the same thing with Gears of War versus Gears of War 4 and many other games. So people going around saying that its poor animations or any other issues it has is because of the art style are just damage controlling and spreading lies. In that 2015 demo, it looked much better than it does now, and it was still the same art style. So I don't want to hear that. And probably the biggest thing that upsets me about this is the Microsoft fanboys. And let me make this clear, the fanboys, not the fans, who go around damage controlling for every crap game that Microsoft drops is the reason why we keep getting crap games. When Sony got all arrogant last generation and thought they could charge $600 for a PS3, and then said people would get a second job to afford to buy one, we let them know we weren't cool with it. And this show they did the right thing. We need to do the same thing if they aren't giving us good games to play. Microsoft had 0 positively reviewed games in all of 2018, and instead of demanding better, Xbox fanboys make excuses for it. State of Decay 2 is riddled with bugs and looks like an unfinished game.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Sea of Thieves is incredibly repetitive, and the Kraken doesn't even have a body under the water.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Crackdown 3 is not the game we were promised and looks like a last generation game.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Until fanboys stop kissing Microsoft's ass even when they screw us, we will continue to get mediocre games. Worst of all, it feels like Microsoft is just throwing in the towel on this gen and are putting all their eggs in the basket of next gen. How is that a good thing for us? For those of us who spent $500 on the Xbox One X, the world's most powerful game console, what game have they given us worth our $500 investment? What is the Xbox One exclusive that makes the Xbox One X worth owning? Ori and the Blind Forest? This game? We support them, but they aren't supporting us. It's nice that they purchased all these new studios for first-party games, but we aren't going to see any of them till next gen, so once again, what about those of us who forked over our cash expecting great games in return? We wanted Fable, and they canceled it. We definitely wanted Scalebound, and they canceled it. Then they tell us we're going to get Crackdown 3, which very few of us were asking for. And then they feed us lies about the cloud computing, and about how all the multiple delays pushing the game back years was to polish it and to get it right to make a Halo or Gear status franchise. Now, I'm not saying the game won't be fun. I'm just saying that they have not given us a AAA quality game, and it is nowhere near the level of a Halo or Gears. Also, I just don't appreciate being misled. Well, that's the video, guys. If you made it this far, thank you for listening to my rant. Feel free to comment and let me know how you feel about what I had to say, or how you feel about Crackdown 3. Are you excited, or are you upset like me? And as always, feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next Supernova.